My name is Colin, and I've been working as an air traffic controller at Denver Airport for 12 years. My job demands absolute concentration. The lives of hundreds of people depend on my decisions every day. But I never thought the biggest disaster would happen not in the sky but in my own home. Megan and I met at the University of Colorado. I was studying aviation management, she was studying tourism with dreams of becoming a flight attendant. Our love blossomed among aerodynamics textbooks and geographical atlases. After graduation we got married, and it seemed like fate itself had aligned our paths. I managed traffic in the sky, she travels through that same sky. The first 5 years were like a fairy tale. Megan worked international flights, bringing souvenirs from Paris, telling stories about sunsets over the Pacific Ocean. I waited for her calls from distant countries, counting days until her return. When she was home we cooked together, watched movies, planned our own travels. Everything started changing a year ago. Megan began flying more frequently with one crew, Captain Chance Williams. She mentioned him often, how professionally he operated the aircraft, how he knew all the nuances of different routes, how the team respected him. Initially I was even happy. It's good when your wife has great colleagues. Then came the long delays after flights. Paperwork, briefings on new procedures, the team went to dinner together. I understood the specifics of the job, so I didn't suspect anything wrong. When you work with people you trust your life with at 10,000 feet, it's natural that close bonds form. The first warning bell rang 3 months ago. Megan forgot to turn off location sharing on her phone after a flight to Miami. According to the schedule, she was supposed to return at 5 in the evening, but in the app one could see she was still at the hotel at 9. When I asked, she said there was a technical problem with the shuttle bus, and the entire crew was delayed. The second a month ago. Megan came home from a flight and immediately went to shower. Her uniform carried the light scent of men's cologne. When I asked, she laughed and said that one passenger on the plane had overdone it with perfume, and the smell stuck to her clothes. But the real revelation came 2 weeks ago completely by accident. I arrived at the airport before my shift to pick up documents I'd forgotten at home. Walking past the crew hotel, I saw a familiar silhouette by a window on the 3rd floor. Megan was standing in the room in a bathrobe, and next to her was a man in a pilot's uniform. They embraced, and it wasn't an ordinary collegial hug. My heart started beating so loudly it seemed audible throughout the entire corridor. I quickly moved away, trying to convince myself I was seeing things. Maybe it was a different hotel, a different person, a different situation. But deep inside I already knew the truth. The next 2 weeks I lived as if in a fog. Every day when Megan prepared for a flight, I felt something dying inside me. Every call from her sounded false. Every "I love you" before takeoff painfully cut my soul. I couldn't concentrate on work. Colleagues began noticing my distraction. One day I almost made a critical mistake, not giving landing clearance to a flight due to fog. Only the quick reaction of my partner saved the situation. I realized this couldn't continue. The decision came unexpectedly and cynically simple. Yesterday evening, when Megan returned from a flight to Las Vegas, I met her with my usual smile, prepared dinner, asked about the flight. She spoke with enthusiasm, mentioning Captain Chance and his incredible landing in difficult conditions. And this morning I called the airline's Human Resources Department on behalf of an insurance company. I said I was verifying data for family insurance policy processing. The secretary gladly provided me with Megan's flight schedule for the next month. By a strange coincidence, all flights were with Captain Williams. Then I called the crew hotel and, introducing myself as an airline employee, inquired whether there were available rooms tomorrow for the crew of the flight to Seattle. I was told that a room was already booked under the name Williams for 2 people. The final drop was a call to the restaurant at the airport where, according to Megan, they with the team often dined after flights. The waiter remembered them, the lovely couple who always orders one table for 2 and asks for the quietest corner. In the evening I met Megan as always. We talked about my affairs, her next flight to Seattle tomorrow. She mentioned she might be delayed due to additional procedures. I nodded understandingly. When she fell asleep, I quietly went to my office and wrote a letter to a lawyer. I detailed the situation, asked him to prepare divorce papers. Tomorrow, while Megan is on a business trip with Captain Williams, I'll file the application with the court. I'm not going to make scenes, scream, demand explanations. I won't spy, hire private detectives, or confront her lover. I'll simply quietly exit her life just as she quietly exited our marriage. Tomorrow, when Megan returns from her flight, she'll find divorce papers on the table and my house keys. I'm moving to my brother's place in Boston. There's a vacancy at the local airport. Strangely, I don't feel anger but sadness. Sadness for those 5 years when we were happy. 4 future plans that will never come true. 4 trust that crumbled like a house of cards. Megan woke up and asked why I wasn't sleeping yet. I hugged her for the last time and said, "Just thinking about our future." She laughed, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." Yes, now I know, everything will be fine. Just without her. But this story doesn't end here. What I discovered next would change everything I thought I knew about betrayal, revenge, and the true cost of deception. 3 days after I filed the divorce papers, something unexpected happened. I was at work, trying to lose myself in the familiar rhythm of guiding aircraft through Denver's busy airspace, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. It's about Megan and Chance. Meet me at Terminal B, Gate 25, during your lunch break. Come alone. A friend." Every instinct told me to ignore it. I'd already made my decision, set my course. But curiosity, that fatal human flaw, got the better of me. At lunch, I found myself walking through Terminal B, past the usual chaos of travelers and announcements, toward Gate 25. A woman in her 40s, wearing a flight attendant uniform, was sitting alone near the window. She looked up as I approached, her eyes red from crying. "Colin?" she asked. I nodded. "I'm Patricia Williams. Chance is my husband." The world seemed to tilt. I sat down heavily in the chair across from her, my mind racing. "Your husband? 22 years married. 3 children." She pulled out her phone, showing me family photos: Chance Williams surrounded by a woman and 3 teenagers at what looked like a Christmas gathering. "He doesn't know I know. About her. About any of them." "Any of them?" Patricia's laugh was bitter. "Megan isn't his first affair. There was Rebecca from United, Jennifer from Southwest, Amanda from Delta. I started keeping track after I found the second one. Chance has a pattern. He targets married flight attendants, makes them feel special, promises them he'll leave his wife. He never does." My hands were shaking. "How long have you known about Megan?" 6 months. I hired a private investigator after I found hotel receipts in his jacket. The photos? Well, they speak for themselves." She slid an envelope across to me. "I thought you deserved to know what kind of man your wife chose." Inside were dozens of photos, Megan and Chance in restaurants, hotels, walking hand in hand through various airports. But it was the timestamps that hit me like a physical blow. The affair had been going on for 8 months, not the few weeks I'd assumed. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. "Because I'm done being the fool. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow and I want Chance to lose everything. His job, his reputation, his pension, everything. But I need your help." Patricia explained her plan. As an airline employee, I had access to flight records and crew schedules. She wanted me to document every trip where Chance and Megan had been together, every hotel stay, every expense that could be proven as misuse of company resources. The airline had strict policies about crew relationships, especially when they involved married employees having affairs. "They could both lose their jobs," she said. "Is that something you can live with?" I thought about Megan coming home, lying to my face, planning her future with another man while I waited faithfully at home. I thought about the mortgage we'd taken together, the joint accounts she was probably already planning to drain, the 5 years of my life I'd given to what I thought was a loving marriage. "What do you need me to do?" The next week was a blur of clandestine meetings and careful documentation. Patricia provided the evidence she'd gathered, and I used my access to company systems to correlate flight data, hotel bookings, and expense reports. The pattern was clear: Chance had been using company resources to fund his affairs for years, and the airline's HR department would not look kindly on the evidence we were compiling. During this time, Megan continued her charade. She'd returned from trips glowing, talking about great flights and professional development opportunities. She bought new clothes, started working out more, and even suggested we take a vacation together, probably to ease her guilt. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal. I'd make dinner, ask about her day, even kiss her goodnight, all while knowing exactly where she'd been and who she'd been with. The cognitive dissonance was overwhelming. Then came the call I'd been dreading. It was a Thursday evening, and Megan was supposed to be on a turnaround flight to Phoenix. Instead, my phone rang at 9 p.m. "Colin, honey, I'm so sorry. We're stuck in Phoenix due to weather. The whole crew is stranded at the hotel. I probably won't be home until tomorrow afternoon." I was sitting at my computer looking at weather reports from Phoenix. Clear skies, perfect flying conditions. I pulled up the flight tracking app. The return flight had landed in Denver 3 hours ago. "That's terrible," I said. "Which hotel are you staying at? I'll send you some flowers to cheer you up." There was a pause. Oh, you don't need to do that. It's just a quick overnight. I'll be home before you know it. After hanging up, I called Patricia. They're at the Marriott downtown. Room 412. The reservation is under Williams. I know, she said. I'm in the lobby. What happened next, I learned later from Patricia's detailed account. She had confronted them in the hotel bar, where they were having drinks and making plans for their future together. The scene was public and devastating. Patricia showed other hotel guests and crew members the photos, announced loudly that she was Chance's wife, and called Megan the homewrecker who destroyed a family. Security was called. Other airline employees witnessed the confrontation. By the time it was over, half the aviation industry in Denver knew about the affair. Megan came home the next day pale and shaking. She found me in the kitchen, calmly making coffee. Colin, we need to talk. Do we? I looked at her with the same polite interest I'd show a stranger. About what? There was a misunderstanding yesterday. A woman claimed that Chance was her husband, and she made some awful accusations about us. It was embarrassing and completely untrue. Completely untrue? I pulled out my phone and showed her one of Patricia's photos, Megan and Chance kissing outside a restaurant. This looks pretty true to me. The color drained from her face. Where did you get that? Patricia Williams gave it to me. You know Chance's wife of 22 years? The mother of his 3 children? She has quite a collection. Megan sank into a chair, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. I can explain. Please don't. I've heard enough of your explanations. They've all been lies. I sat across from her, amazed at how calm I felt. Here's what's going to happen. The divorce papers have already been filed. I've documented every trip you took with Chance, every lie you told me, every company resource you helped him misuse. HR will receive a full report on Monday. You can't do this to me. My career. Your career? I laughed, and even to my own ears it sounded cold. You threw away your career the moment you decided to have an affair with a married pilot. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? Tears were streaming down her face now. I love him, Colin. I know you don't understand, but what Chance and I have is real. It's not like what we had. You're right. What we had was built on honesty and trust. What you have with Chance is built on lies and betrayal. The difference is what we had was real. What you have with him is just another one of his affairs. I stood up and handed her a box I'd prepared. Your personal items. I've changed the locks, closed the joint accounts, and removed your name from everything. You have until Sunday to collect the rest of your belongings. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Maybe Chance can help you out. Oh wait, he's probably dealing with his own divorce right now. The doorbell rang. Through the window I could see a process server waiting on the front steps. Those will be the official papers, I said. I'd suggest you find a good lawyer. Patricia hired an excellent one, and she's going after half of everything Chance has. As the reality of her situation sank in, Megan's demeanor changed from pleading to angry. You bastard. You planned this whole thing. You and that woman. I plan to file for divorce and move on with my life. Everything else is just the natural consequence of your choices. Actions have results, Megan. You're about to learn that lesson very thoroughly. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings, workplace investigations, and social fallout. The airline's investigation was swift and decisive. Chance was terminated for misuse of company resources and violation of the employee conduct policy. Megan received a suspension pending further review, but everyone knew her career was effectively over. The aviation industry in Denver is smaller than people think. Word travels fast, and both Chance and Megan found themselves blacklisted from major airlines. The photos Patricia had distributed, combined with the official HR investigation, made them unemployable in their chosen field. Patricia's divorce proceeded smoothly. With the evidence we'd compiled, Chance had no choice but to accept an unfavorable settlement. He lost the house, half his pension, and was ordered to pay substantial alimony and child support. As for Megan and me, our divorce was finalized 3 months later. I kept the house, she kept her debts. The judge was not sympathetic to someone who had committed adultery and participated in fraud against her employer. I heard through mutual friends that Megan and Chance tried to make their relationship work after everything came to light. It lasted 6 weeks. Turns out, when your relationship is built on excitement, secrecy, and the thrill of deception, it doesn't survive well in the harsh light of reality and unemployment. Chance eventually found work as a flight instructor at a small regional airport, making a fraction of his former salary. Megan took a job as a travel agent, booking trips for other people while being grounded herself. I transferred to Boston as planned. My brother helped me find an apartment, and the change of scenery was exactly what I needed. The new job was challenging, the city was vibrant, and slowly I began to rebuild my life. 6 months after the divorce, I met Sarah at a coffee shop near the airport. She was a pediatric nurse, kind and funny, with no connection to the aviation industry. We took things slowly, building trust brick by brick. She knew my story, I was honest about my past from the beginning, and she never made me feel like damaged goods. A year later, Patricia and I exchanged Christmas cards. She had remarried, a widower from her church who treated her children like his own. In her card, she thanked me for helping her find the courage to leave her cheating husband and build a better life. Sometimes, she wrote, the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. I hope you found the same to be true. As I write this, 2 years after discovering Megan's betrayal, I can say that Patricia was right. The woman who lied to me, who threw away our marriage for a cheap affair with a serial cheater, did me the biggest favor of my life. She freed me to find someone who values honesty, commitment, and genuine love. Sarah and I are planning our wedding for next spring. We're building something real, something honest, something that can withstand the storms that life will inevitably bring. We talk about everything, our fears, our dreams, our past mistakes. There are no secrets between us, no lies, no hidden agendas. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd never seen Megan in that hotel window, if I'd remained oblivious to her affair. Would we still be married, living a lie? Would she have eventually left me anyway? Would I have wasted even more years on someone who didn't value what we had? I'll never know, and I'm grateful for that. Some questions are better left unanswered. What I do know is this: betrayal, as devastating as it is, doesn't have to define you. You can choose to become bitter and cynical, or you can choose to learn from the experience and build something better. You can let it destroy your capacity for trust, or you can use it to appreciate honesty when you find it. I chose to build something better. And as I sit here in my Boston apartment, Sarah reading beside me, planning our future together, I can honestly say that I'm happier now than I ever was during those 5 years of marriage to someone who was living a double life. The betrayal hurt. The lies stung. The deception was devastating. But the freedom to love someone who loves me back with complete honesty? That's been worth everything I had to go through to find it. Megan thought she was choosing a better life when she chose chance over our marriage. In reality, she was choosing the illusion of excitement over the reality of love. She traded something real for something fake, something lasting for something temporary, someone who cherished her for someone who collected women like trophies. The last I heard, she was dating a car salesman and living in a studio apartment across town. Chance was still teaching flying lessons and living with his elderly parents. Both of them got exactly what they deserved: each other's company for a brief, ugly moment, followed by the long-term consequences of their choices. As for me, I got something I never expected from such a painful experience. I got the chance to find real love, built on a foundation of truth and mutual respect. I got the opportunity to appreciate genuine honesty after experiencing devastating deception. I got the gift of a new beginning when I thought my story was ending. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply living well, loving authentically, and building something beautiful from the ashes of someone else's betrayal. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Maybe YouTube will no longer offer you my channel, so subscribe to it by clicking subscribe on the right under the video to receive new interesting stories. Also on the right of the video there is a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to, and you can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.